Hey everybody, welcome, and thank you for listening to this episode of Marriage Therapy Radio. My name is Zach Brittle, and I am by myself today. I have been in the habit of interviewing couples, and I've got a bunch of interviews lined up. But today, I'm just sort of in a mood to talk about whatever I want. It's my podcast, and I'm allowed to do that. You know, one of the things I miss about not doing this with Laura is just catching people up on kind of what's going on in the day-to-day rhythm. And I've got plenty of people who have invited me to say, hey, what's going on with this, that, or the other thing. So today I'm just going to talk about that for a little while. And I've decided to, because I love alliteration, organize it in this way. I'm going to talk about my P's and Q's, minding my P's and Q's. I got a bunch of topics that all start with P because I'm clever and that's the way I like to think about things. And I'm going to start with pets. As you know, I don't have the pet gene. People get mad at me sometimes because I'm not a fan of dogs. I might even be talking about posts, P-O-S-T-S, posts. I woke up my blog. It's called Stuff I Write, and I'm over there just writing stuff that's on my mind. The most recent post as of today, which is September 1st, is about pets and dogs specifically, and just some random thoughts I have about that. I would be grateful if you would go over to stuffiwrite.com, become a subscriber. I also had a woman who became a paid subscriber. I haven't actually even turned on the payment part of that blog, which is on Substack, and I guess you can get paid to write on Substack. But I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to turn it on and invite you to become a paid subscriber. But I have a plan for what to do with that money. I'm very interested in supporting nonprofits. And while I haven't found the one I want to support, here's what it does. It supports young, aspiring female writers and artists. I want to support that endeavor. I just believe that art is important, and I want to get behind art, and I want to get behind women because I am probably a feminist. I got a wife and two daughters, and one of them is a young, aspiring artist, director, writer, and I want to make sure that she has access to opportunities. So, of course, I'm going to give her money and help support her, but I also want to support people broadly. And maybe what I'm going to do is turn on the payment part of my blog and then do something like match any gifts or any subscription payments toward that effort. But I'm not doing that yet. It'll probably take me a little bit to get that organized. But if you do know of a nonprofit that is worthy of my attention, please send it my way. I want to hear from you because I like hearing from you. So that's me talking about pets and posts. The second thing I want to talk about is parenting. Also starts with a P. Like I said, I've got two girls that you know about. And Rebecca and I are in the middle of empty nesting, kind of. Mary, my younger daughter, is about to go abroad. Initially for 12 weeks, she's just going to go see Europe and Australia and Asia. Going to visit lots of different parts of the world and kind of understand how it is bigger and broader than we think. Mary and I went away this last weekend. We have kind of a mini tradition. It's actually maybe even a micro tradition of getting away for an overnight together on Labor Day weekend. We went up to San Juan Island, which is it's one of the San Juan Islands. And my buddy Greg owns the moped business there. It's called Susie's Mopeds. So we got some mopeds. We drove around the island. We looked at, the ocean, and we tried to visit some alpacas, and we went and hung out at a hotel and just goofed off and ate good food and caught up. And, I'm ready for her to go. It's time. It's time for her to leave. And I'm excited about what's next for her. And, she's going to go to London and Paris first. And then Rebecca and I have actually plans to go to London and Paris in October. So I told her, I said, I need you to go hide something for me in some cafe somewhere or at the Louvre, and I'll find it. It'll be like a little secret code or something. And then Abby's home. She just graduated from college, as you might remember. She's got a degree in theater studies. She's just spent the summer directing Shakespeare in Virginia at a summer camp there for theater kids. And now she's back. She's looking for more opportunities to do theater work. She's probably going to work at a restaurant. I'm just really happy for her. I'm really happy and proud of her. And again, mostly because, well, not mostly, but I'm proud of her that she's doing art. I think the world needs art. I think particularly as we are grappling with stuff that is challenging, which I'll get to in just a second, allowing beauty to expand and thrive, allowing creativity to expand and thrive is really critical. I think that's true in our relationships. I think it's true in the world. But anyway, I've said for a while that I think parenting young adults is harder than parenting young kids. And it's also just maybe more rewarding to actually see them become people. There's another P word, by the way, people. So I'm excited. And I think I found a new version of my parenting philosophy. Philosophy also starts with a P, by the way, that I've been telling people, which is your kids need two things. They need to know that they're loved, and they need to know that boundaries are real, that consequences are real. I think I learned that in graduate school. Actually, it was part of a lecture that I got from my, marriage and family class. But now I think I understand it for real, that my kids, whether or not they agree with me about stuff, whether or not they get mad at me, whether or not I approve of their choices, they know that they are loved, and they know that boundaries are real. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm glad for them and proud of them to go out into the world. We've always said that our goal for parenting has been to be in a healthy friendship with our adult children. We're kind of right there at the cusp. I think we're getting it mostly right. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens for both of them as they lean into the next version of being adults in this world that is crazy and weird. And I want to take a minute to talk about politics, which is a touchy area, and people may listen to Marriage Therapy Radio and go, stay in your lane or something like that. But I actually had somebody ask me. They actually asked me on stuff I write. They sent me an email and said, hey, I would really like you to write about the current state of political discourse. And I think I'm not going to do that. I don't really have anything to say about political discourse, particularly when there isn't really any discourse. We live in a world right now that is crazy and messed up, and I have a lot of problems with policies, P problems, P policies, coming out of the current administration. I think it is an absolute disaster. Some of you disagree with me. That's fine. I got canceled by a lady about a year ago who was mad that I suggested I might vote for Kamala Harris. I don't regret that suggestion. I don't regret that bias. I actually don't even regret getting canceled. But, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible what's happening right now across the spectrum, whether it's the environment, economics, basic humanity. The Supreme Court is actively trying to flaunt their ability to do whatever they want. And it's that, by the way, is happening behind the scenes. Every third headline is something new. And it's all a distraction from what? Right now, it's a distraction from the Epstein files, which is itself a distraction from the fact that if you're not playing the game with the rule makers, then you're losing. I think that's a terrible way to be on the planet. And I think it's a terrible way to be in relationship. Anything that I might suggest, though, about politics, and then you dismiss, or anyone dismiss, because I am not a politician or it's not my lane, that's fine. Let's just talk about relationships. I think the entire system right now is not relational. I think it is designed to keep certain people in power, which is, maybe that's true across the generations or whatever, but it is, it's not relational. There's no opportunity for discourse, for rational discussion about compromise or nuance, or even just, I don't know, dude. This is coming up a lot for me because I'm doing a lot of Terry Reel's work. I'm getting people come into my practice who are struggling with the patriarchy also starts with P. And I think we have to continue to keep our foot on the gas of helping people choose relationality. And that is really hard when we've got this really binary way of thinking. And, I'm probably subject to that. I have a pretty binary way of thinking when it comes to politics at the moment. And I'm saddened by some of my friends who I love and respect who aren't capable of having meaningful conversations about some of their choices. Anyway, that's a little mini rant. I caught myself several times trying not to curse and say crass things because I really want to stay on message. And the message is the number one thing we can do is choose how we show up at home and in our relationships. I think there are steps that you can take to show your support and advocacy around certain causes, but best thing you can do is love your neighbor, love your kids, try and make sure that they have access to health and wellness and wisdom. And I think, for those of you who are listening and maybe on the more masculine side of the equation, I think it starts with us. I think it starts with you. Trying to show up in ways that are designed to empower the less fortunate, the more marginalized, the less empowered. I think that's our job. I think that's what being relational is really about. Okay. I'll pause that for a second. Oh, pause starts with P. I love this game. I've been thinking a lot about sex. It's come up in my practice quite a bit. It's that time, maybe of year, where people are trying to figure out how to improve that part of their relationship. And so I haven't gotten to say this in a while, but I think when it comes to sex, there are two questions that people don't ask a lot that need to be asked. And the first one is, what's it for? I think sex is a wild one because it can be for a lot of things. It can be for fun. It can be for reproduction. It can be for, for some people, it can be for violence. For some people, it can be for their job. For some people, sex is for actual exercise. I think when it comes to understanding what it's for, you have a lot of opportunity to make it better if you're clear about that. So if sex is for pregnancy, which starts with a P, by the way, then you have to have it at a certain time of month. You might need to have it in a certain position or put your legs in a certain place after sex is over. You may need to make sure that you are, eating right, or that that you've scheduled it appropriately. If sex is for passion, it's a little bit of a different thing. It's not, the stakes aren't quite as high, certainly as when it comes to pregnancy. You get to kind of make up the rules. I recently found a book called Sex is Fun. It's by a guy named Kidder Caper. It just really made me think a lot about what's it for and how do we make sure that it does what it's supposed to do. I think if sex is work, or sex is for, obligation, or sex is only for him or only for her, it's very problematic. But if sex is, particularly the conversations I'm having with clients, if sex is for fun, or if we can learn how to have sex for fun, maybe it's a whole different thing. Who hates having sex is people who are trying to get pregnant and can't. It's a real challenge to stay optimistic and stay hopeful. Sex is kind of a drag sometimes for those folks. Rebecca and I went through a whole phase where we were trying to get pregnant for about 2 years, and it was not fun. And so I think learning how to embrace the nuance of it and just kind of the playfulness, also starts with a P, is a big deal. So that's my, I don't know, it's just some things I'm thinking about, probably also because I'm spending some time thinking a little bit more about polyamory, which also starts with a P. There it is. Polyamory is, used to be this thing that I thought was something people who were unhappy did in order to have more sex. And so that because they didn't like how the world was organized and the rules didn't help them get what they wanted, they just changed the rules. and decided, let's invent this thing, or let's have this thing called polyamory, which means that we can sleep with other people anytime we want. That's what I used to think about polyamory, but I'm coming around on it. Not personally. I don't think it's for me and Rebecca. It's not a thing that we will entertain or try. But having conversations with some clients and some friends and realizing that there is a whole other aspect that has way more to do with love is kind of interesting to me. I mean, I think if you think about what love is, being expansive, love is broad, and love has a lot of different kinds of applications. And sex is one of the ways that you can express love for another person. I think I'm coming around to that if you're thoughtful, and if you're loyal, and if you're intentional, and you are open in your communication, and you are interested in being someone who is trying to put more love in the world versus, say, someone who is trying just to get more sex, I think it's got some intriguing applications. Obviously, here in the West, we think about love and sex a lot different than folks who are more European or more Eastern in their approaches. And then also this idea that monogamy itself is not really biologically consistent. It's a biological anomaly. I think if you are a person who is listening to this podcast and you're like, I'm very clear what I think about polyamory, that's okay. You can be, but also I'm here to tell you that maybe it's worth just thinking about it a little bit more. And if it's not for you, that's fine. But it's just something that's been on my mind as I've been thinking about words that start with P. I was in the pool, starts with P. By the way, I just finished my third marathon of the summer. If you are tracking historically through the podcast, you know that every summer I attempt to swim 26.2 miles each month in the pool. So I track my yardage with my Apple Watch, and then I let people know that I am finished my marathon. I finished it yesterday, my third marathon, my August marathon. Now I'm into September, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about setting and achieving personal goals. I'm not actually sure what's next, although I am going to start a new flossing streak today. Went to the dentist the other day, and Megan, my hygienist, was like, how you doing on flossing? And I was like, not that great. So I'm going to start flossing again today on the 1st of September, see how long I can go. I think my record's like 117 consecutive days, which is a little more than 3 months. So September, October, November, December. If I get to the end of the year, that's a new record, but can't miss any days. So let's talk about things that start with P. And I got to the pool, which is nice. I want to talk a little bit about, some of you have asked about the reason I started writing again at Stuff I Write is that I am maybe this close, like microscopically close to securing a book deal, a book project, which just is requiring me to write more and to be a better writer. And so I'm practicing at the blog. And I'm intentionally practicing around things that are not relationship oriented. The book itself, of course, will be about relationships, and it will in fact be a lot about practice. Starts with a P. This more than anything else is what I'm leaning into with clients lately. It's about just how you need to not be okay with not being good at stuff, particularly relationally. Like there are things that we just don't know how to do until we practice. And in fact, every single thing that you know how to do right now, you were once bad at. That includes walking and talking. It includes playing guitar or speaking Spanish. It includes cooking. You had to learn how to do that, and you had to learn by being clumsy and awkward and halting and also being bad. And so I'm spending a lot of time with clients talking about practice. And there's this one metaphor that keeps rising to the top. And it's this idea that, when you do practice playing guitar, and by the way, when I first started to try and learn how to play guitar, I was a freshman in college, might have been a sophomore. I was a freshman or sophomore in college. I had just gotten a guitar. and I had a bunch of Dave Matthews Band tablature. So like pieces of paper with all of these different chord progressions and fingerings for Dave Matthews songs. And that's how I tried to learn how to play guitar. I tried to learn how to play guitar by playing the most complex, arrangements I could find. Never mind 3 chords and the truth. That was too simple for me. I went straight for the thing. And suffice to say, I never learned how to play guitar. I can play 3 to 5 chords depending on the day. And I could probably string a song or two together. I can get Free Fallin' out, or the sound of Free Falling anyway. I used to be able to play Closer to Fine, the part of it. I can't play anything from start to finish unless I'm looking at the actual thing. But my point is, when you're trying to learn how to play something, and when I was trying to learn how to play guitar, one of the things that kept me going is when I would get just a chord right. I would be trying to play a Dave Matthews Band song, for example, and while I couldn't get the fingering, my hands just were too small. They weren't big enough. Of course, I didn't have any practice, but if I could just get the sound of one, it'd be like, pring, and it would ring out. I would be like, oh, that's it. That's the one. I'm so excited about this. And so I would learn how to play that one, and it would keep me going. And this is what I'm telling my clients about doing relational stuff when they're trying to practice making a relational move or getting better with defensiveness or whatever it is that they're trying, just to celebrate even small success. It is really important that you not try to play or be, emotionally or relationally excellent all the time. You have time to learn how to grow and be better. That is something I'm talking about to my couples a lot. The idea that practice is important and that you should play. I've been using, again, this metaphor that, if relationships are work, nobody wants to do work. I mean, yes, you should work on your relationship, but it shouldn't be like Siberian labor camp work. It should be more like trying to win the amazing race. So you need to come up with different strategies, and you need to have fun, and you need to relax, and you need to, take time sometimes to look at what's going on and just kind of take in the environment around you. Rebecca and I intentionally try to build in play a lot. By the way, I think I forgot to mention this. One of the ways that we play is every year in the summer, we host an Iron Chef party where we have friends over. We have 5 total teams are here. And throughout the night, we have 5 total dishes that are served along the way. And those 5 dishes have a common ingredient. So we've done corn, we've done bacon, we did citrus one year, we did roots one year. This year we did nuts. And every year, my neighbors, Tyler and Jeff, they win because they're amazing and they plan ahead and they invest and they test stuff out and they buy like $200 worth of, say, citrus just to make sure that they dial in the recipe. And it's a fun night. It's a way that we play and we enjoy each other. And this year, I was the winner. My dish won the Iron Chef dinner in my backyard. It was a massive upset. Tyler and Jeff actually finished 4th. And I won by 1/100th of a point over the second place person. And the difference between 1st and 5th place was 1/3 of a point. It was very, very close this year. And I did the math twice to make sure that I didn't cheat. But because I saw that I was the winner, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I'm not cheating. And then I went and did the math again. And sure enough, I was the winner. My dish was amazing. That's going to be on Instagram. We're putting that up there at some point. So, by the way, if you're not following us on Instagram, you can do that at Marriage Therapy Radio. I think we just went over 4,500 followers, which I don't think is a lot, but it's fun. I remember when we first got to 200, and I thought that was baller. So having Instagram followers is a cool thing, and it will help support the book when it is ready to come out. But I also want to spend a little bit of time talking about Patreon. Patreon, you've heard me talk about it on the intro and outro for the last few months. It is one of our very few sources of income to the podcast. And, podcasting returns a lot of value for me. I have fun. I get to talk to really interesting people. I have this passion right now. Oh, passion. There it is again. Although I think I already said that one about sex. But I have this passion to talk to couples about their relationship. I get to talk to couples all the time. And I realize that a lot of things that I'm learning, let's say about polyamory, are because I have a much broader context than most people have. So some people, the only couples they know about are their parents, maybe their friends or sister and brother. Like they don't have a lot of exposure to a lot of different couples. Maybe you're in a small group at your church, or maybe you have, some friends that you've known since college or something. But, I spend time with couples in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s and their 50s and their 60s and their 70s. I even have a couple in their 80s, and they're amazing. I love talking to them. Their first date, by the way, was when they went to the house on the street that had the TV. So there was one house on their street that had a TV, and they met there at the event in front of the TV, which was watching the coverage of Neil Armstrong landing on the moon. They're cool. They've lived a lot of life together. They've been married longer than I've been alive. Anyway, so that's why I'm interviewing couples on the podcast, because I want other people to hear stories of people in their 20s and in their 30s and their 40s. In fact, I just had a couple on in their teens, 18-year-old couple. I've interviewed my parents recently, if you haven't heard that. They're in their second marriage, my mom and her husband, my stepdad. But here's the deal, man. Making and promoting a podcast is expensive. Like I said, I love doing it. I get a lot of value returned back to me personally and professionally because of the podcast, but we really do need your support to continue to keep the lights on. I have given myself until the end of the year. I'm going to continue to recording episodes through the end of 2025. So that's officially 4 more months. And just to see if we can have that kind of moment, that viral moment that helps us, maybe get advertisers or get high-end guests. Still have my fingers crossed for John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, or they're not going to ever come on, but it could be fun to try. But I've got lots of interesting people I want to talk to, and I'm not going to quit before the end of the year. But if we can't figure out how to get a little bit of wind at our back, a little bit more wind at our back, then I don't know, man, we're going to have to face some tough choices. So I'm trying to make Patreon a place that is of value for you, kind of in a behind the scenes sort of way. I've got some of my greatest hits there where I am sharing stories from my client office. And we're also starting a new feature called Ask Zach. So making the transition a little bit, this is like a little bit of a handoff, like a handing off the baton, moving from P's to Q's. Still talking about Patreon, but one of the things that we're going to do is is really try to answer listener questions behind the scenes at Patreon. So I want to know what you want to hear about. I want to know how I can be of value to you, either personally or clinically. I can't do therapy behind the scenes, but I can directly answer questions that you send me. So we're going to have you send email to the Marriage Therapy Radio email. That's info@marriagetherapyradio.com. You just put Ask Zach in the subject line. And when you do, I'm going to record a video and answer that question. I don't really get to do it on the podcast because usually I've got couples that have their own story. And so that's going to be the place where we address really what's on your mind. Many of you are already supporting Marriage Therapy Radio financially. Thank you so much. Like every single time I get a new subscriber, or once a month, I get the kind of the report that says, here's your money coming from Patreon. I just feel so grateful and happy and proud. I feel a part of something. I just feel really honored that you are supporting us. There are a lot of you who are in our Patreon as free members, and that is very cool. It helps us feel like there's some social proof. If you're there as a free member, it'd be super easy just to click on the button and become a paid member. I think there's a couple of different tiers where you can, sort of something like buy me coffee or buy me lunch or buy me dinner once a month. I think there's also an annual supporting option where you can just pay one time kind of like for the year and get all the stuff. But, honestly, I'm not asking you to join Patreon because of what you're going to get. I'm really hoping that you would join Patreon because of what you can provide. Oh, provide starts with a P. To others. There are people who use Marriage Therapy Radio as their only source of relational insight and input. I hear about it all the time. People who can't afford to go to therapy or who don't want to, or whose partner won't, but who will listen to this or that episode. There are members of my team who are working very hard behind the scenes. They handle all my social media. They edit and produce this podcast. There's a guy right now who lives in Turkey who is soliciting guests for me. And he's doing a great job finding folks to come on and tell their story. So again, it's just a way to reinvest back in this thing that ultimately for you, we know is free. So if you are even thinking about being a member of the Patreon community, please do that. And in return, I want to answer your question. This is the Q's part of today's podcast. So if you have questions for me or questions that you want me to track down or just things you want me to talk about, postulate on, I want to know. I want to know, and I want to talk to you directly through the back end, through the behind the scenes moment. So again, you could send an email to info@marriagetherapyradio.com. I think if you're already on Patreon, you could submit questions through that platform. This is just my non-casual in the intro or outro plea to take a minute, press pause, roll over to marriagetherapyradio.com, click on the Patreon button, or you can go to patreon.com/marriagetherapyradio and just become a paid member. It would mean a lot to me if you did that. I think that's it for now. I love having this podcast. I love being able to talk to different couples. It is a nice break in the flow of my client week. And I hope it's valuable to you. If you're listening to this sentence, that means that you have sat through about a half an hour of me rambling on things that are just on my mind. And I'm grateful that you would do that. I just really appreciate that people care about what I have to say. And as much as possible, I'd like to stay in dialogue with you. So please do stay in touch. Please let me know how I can support you, as I have just let you know how you can support Marriage Therapy Radio. And if you think of anything else that starts with P that you want me to talk about, by all means, let me know. There are things that I left off this list, but mostly I just wanted to hop on, do a little bit of a reset here as we all go back to school. Although this is the first time I'm not going back to school in like 45 years. That's insane. Even before I had kids, I worked in academics, so there was always back to school. And now back to school is just kind of a commercial that I see on television. Anyway, really appreciate you guys. And I think that's going to do it. So thank you for listening to this episode of Marriage Therapy Radio. And thank you for the time and attention you're putting into making your relationship better today than it was yesterday.